What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Modern Warfare 2. And in today's episode, we're going to be moving on to the Minibak SMG, also known as the PP19 Bizon. And starting this off, as always, let's have a look at our damage profile, and with this gun, just like a lot of the previous SMGs we've covered, it's a 3 to 7 shot kill. However, there's a very key difference with this one, and that is our torso damage is a little bit higher, and as a result, for that 3-shot kill potential up close, only one bullet needs to hit the torso, and the rest can hit anywhere in the body, and you'll still get a 3-shot kill. And then beyond that, it doesn't matter if you're shooting torso or limbs, it's going to take the exact same number of shots to kill. So that's one of the big upsides with this gun. It's super forgiving no matter where in the body you're shooting them. As for headshots, just like with most of the other SMGs out there, it's generally not worth taking the time to aim for the head because you usually need to mix multiple headshots in with body shots in order for it to do anything, and at that point, you're just better off aiming center mass. But then let's get into our rate of fire, and this does have the slowest rate of fire in the SMG category at 652 rounds per minute, and what this means is our 3-shot time to kill potential is 184 milliseconds. That's a very competitive time to kill. It's not the fastest, but it's still nearly instant. However, because of our slower fire rate, for every additional bullet that it takes you to kill the enemy player, you're seeing a pretty big jump in the time to kill value. And it turns out, at longer ranges, this is one of the slowest killing guns in the entire game at 552 milliseconds. As a result, this truly is an SMG in this game. It really excels in close quarter situations, and you might even be able to stretch it to mid ranges, but at longer ranges, this gun is practically useless. And that's especially true when you also factor in the bullet velocity, which is 300 meters per second. This is very slow, and that means if you are trying to challenge somebody at longer ranges, especially if they're moving around, you're going to be missing a bunch of extra shots due to this slow bullet velocity. Having said that though, there is an upside to having this subsonic bullet velocity, and that is, by default, skulls will not appear for enemy players when you kill their teammates. So that means this gun is fairly well suited to a stealth playstyle, even though stealth isn't a very powerful playstyle in this game. Next up, let's have a look at our range profile, and we've actually got a pretty solid range profile with this gun. Our 3-shot kill potential is the best out of any of the 3-shot kill SMGs at 11 meters. Then our 4-shot kill range extends out to 19 meters, our 5-shot kill range is a little bit over 30 meters, and then that 6-shot kill potential will extend out to around 45 meters. Generally speaking, when looking at these time to kill values, I'd really try to keep yourself at least within about 30 meters or so, because beyond that, your time to kill starts to get way too high, and also that bullet velocity is really going to hold you back. Next up, let's have a look at our hipfire, and the Minibak is the worst in the SMG category. It's the only sort of outlier here, although it's still not useless when it comes to hipfire. It's just a bit worse than the other SMGs. And then let's get into our idle sway, which is pretty bad. Your sights will be swaying around quite a bit, but then again, you shouldn't be using this gun at longer ranges anyway, so within the effective ranges, this probably won't be a massive issue for you. After that, let's have a look at our recoil, and just keep in mind with my recoil plots here, I just did a 30-round recoil plot, so it's a little more comparable to the other guns in the game, even though you have a 64-round magazine. But with this, as you can see, this gun is reasonably accurate. It kicks upward, a little bit to the right, and there's some side-to-side bounce in there, but nothing too crazy. It's honestly not that hard to control or predict this recoil. Next up, let's get into our handling stats, and unfortunately, this has the slowest aim-down sight speed in the SMG category at 275 milliseconds. It's also worth noting that's slower than all of the assault rifles in the game, so I don't know why they decided to give it such a slow aim-down sight speed, especially since all of the other stats are clearly designed for close-range combat. In either case, at least our sprint out time is standard for SMGs at 110 milliseconds, and then our reload add time is a little bit better than average for SMGs at 1.63 seconds, but I still wouldn't consider this to be like a fast reload. It's just that we have a lot of really slow reloading SMGs in this game. And then finally, for the base stats of the gun, let's have a look at our mobility stats. And as you can see here, our base movement speed is just slightly better than average, although I'd just say this is within the realm of being average. Whereas our sprint movement speed and our aim walking movement speed are both noticeably below average for SMGs. And with that, that about covers it for the base stats of the Minibak. Now let's move into the barrel. We only have one barrel attachment on this gun, and we'll start it off with the range with that barrel. Turns out this one will increase our ranges by 15%, which is a nice boost. Additionally, this barrel is quite nice for recoil control. It does improve our recoil a little bit compared to the base. However, unfortunately, this barrel also gives us a very slow aim down sight speed at 325 milliseconds. I would consider this to be slow even for an assault rifle in this game. And since there aren't very many attachments we can use to counteract that, I don't know if I would ever recommend using this barrel unless you're specifically going for long shot camos or something. As for our magazine attachment we have access to, this one's kind of unique. It doesn't change the magazine capacity at all. All it does is help with our aiming idle sway as well as recoil stabilization, and it hurts our aim down sight time by about 25 milliseconds. And honestly, while I really like the benefits that this brings to the table, unfortunately, I just feel like you can't afford to be losing too much aim down sight speed with this gun, and as a result, I would likely stay away from this attachment as well. So there we go, those are all of the unique attachment stats I wanted to cover in today's video. Now let's move on to some great attachment combinations I've got for you guys, and the first one I'm going to share is my all-arounder build. This one is quite nice and versatile. With this, we've got the FTAC Castle Comp muzzle. That one seems to help the best with this particular style of recoil that this gun has. We've got the OLEV laser for that added aiming stability, improvement to our aim down sight speed, and improvement to our sprint out time. We got the Ultrazat stock to help with our aim walking movement speed, which is quite nice, and the TrueTac grip to help with our sprint out speed as well as our aim down sight time. And with this particular build, it leaves us with an aim down sight speed of 290 milliseconds, which is pretty slow for an SMG, but at least I managed to keep it somewhat reasonable. Our sprint out time is also improved a little bit, not by a large degree, but it does help that this is a little bit faster. And our aim walking movement speed is improved by about 8%. And when we have a look at the recoil with this, it's incredibly accurate. This is very, very easy to control and predict. And with all of that combined, that just makes us a decent all-arounder. You just have to be aware of that steep time to kill increase at longer ranges, as well as that slow bullet velocity. And also, you really have to be aware of your aim down sight time. No matter what you do with this gun, that aim down sight time is going to be quite slow for an SMG. As for the next build that I've got for you guys, this is a much more niche build. This is my Hipfire build. And with this, I'm also using a suppressor just because the downsides of the suppressor don't really matter for a Hipfire build. So you may as well throw it on. So we've got the X10 RR40 muzzle, the FTAC Grimline laser. This is the one that gives us a 20% improvement to our hipfire diameter, which is great. We've got 9mm hollow point just because we may as well take that. We may cripple the enemies if we end up hitting them in the leg, which we will often do with hipfire. We've also got the VLK stockless stock, or non-stock, I guess you would call it. And once again, that TrueTac grip to help with our sprint out time and aim down sight speed. But with this one, we get a very fast sprint out time at 60 milliseconds. That's incredible for hipfire builds. We've got a great hipfire diameter. We've got pretty horrible recoil, but you don't want to be stretching your ranges out with this one. Just like with a lot of my other hipfire builds, I'm not saying you should never aim down sight with this setup, but just know you're not going to stand a chance in longer range gunfights. And even with all these attachments designed for aggression, our aim down sight speed is still quite slow at 290 milliseconds. And with that, that's finally going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the Minibak. As for my thoughts on this gun, I really like the consistency that you get with it. You get a great time to kill potential up close, and I like the fact that you don't have to specifically aim for like an upper torso multiplier or even just a torso multiplier. You just shoot them in the body and you get your best time to kill, which is great. However, it does have a very steep drop off in its effectiveness as you start to stretch the ranges out. So it's not a very versatile SMG. Additionally, it is a bit strange that we have such a slow aim down sight speed and not too many attachments that can help you in that area, because you're meant to be using it in close ranges due to its power potential, but then you can't aim down sight very fast, so it just seems kind of counterintuitive. Overall though, I do consider it to be a good SMG as long as you're treating it right and you're aware of its downsides. But of course, that is just my opinion, and I want to hear what you guys think about the Minibak in those comments down below. Also, if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, I will leave a link to the playlist in the description. We're almost done the SMGs, we've got all the assault rifles out of the way, and then we'll be moving on to battle rifles. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.